Hello, you beautiful people, and welcome to AM Guitar with me, Anjay. Today we are looking at this beautiful Revelation RJT-60. This I got on eBay for about £150 recently. It's by a company called Revelation, which is UK based. Obviously, this isn't made in the UK, but it's UK based. It's got a long and short history that goes back to Hohner, a few other things, but more recently has been revived around, I think this is probably a fair thing to say, around a guy called Alan Entwistle, who's designed the RJT guitars and things like that. He is well known in the industry for his pickups and his tone circuitry, the ATN circuitry, which we'll come to in a minute. But this guitar itself retails for about £300, so it is kind of in that sweet spot of budget mid kind of guitars. It has a hardwood body, a maple neck with a skunk stripe, a rosewood fretboard with pearloid inlays, medium frets, vintage tuners, you can see there, which actually hold their tuning amazingly well on this guitar. I think they're Wilkinson. Bridge is Wilkinson as well. You have this great purple, kind of shiny purple colour. You can kind of see that, very reflective. Not great camera work from me there. We have a tortoiseshell pickguard. You have two X90 pickups by Entwistle. Now, they're like P90s, they're ceramic, and they cover a different tonal range slightly than a P90, but they're very balanced for the ATN circuitry, and they're quieter than a P90. Yeah, volume, tone, three-way selector, and then obviously the ATN. Now, the ATN is it's a notch filter, a bit like you'd see on a Veritone on a Gibson, but I think much more usable if you know how to use it. So later on in the video, there's a little tip on how to get the most out of this selector. But it allows you to go from kind of P90 sound to humbucker to single coil to acoustic, just with this passive filter and a little bit of playing around with the controls. The neck is, I think they'd call it a D profile because it's not fat enough to be a C. It feels great in the hand. It reminds me of it reminds me a little bit of a Telecaster in its feel. It's a 22 frets with a 25.5-inch scale length, I want to say. So yeah, it plays beautifully. It plays well out of its price range. I will say that now. This feels at least as good as my Mexican Telecaster, and it plays better than a lot of more expensive guitars I've played. Let's hear it, and then I'll come back and talk to you a little bit about it. One or two things to look out for, but yeah, let's hear it. So here is a clean tone. Bridge pickup, ATN is off. Middle setting. And neck. And put a little bit of hair on it using the Miesniks on 0 gain, which I've now got at the start of my chain. I'll show you my pedal board. So it has a P90 sound to it. The X90s are very similar to P90s, slightly different construction. Much lower noise floor, I've noticed. They don't hum as much as a standard P90, but give you a kind of that nice midway point between a humbucker and a single coil. Let's throw a little bit more dirt on this. I've got a Boss Angry driver down here. No, let's go with the Royal Flush to start with. Bridge pickup. Middle. Bridge. Neck even. Now we're going to throw the Angry driver into the mix. So it handles low gain, it handles high gain, but what else does it do? So this ATN, like I said, it's like a notch filter. It's like a tone control. This is what the tone control sounds like. So on the bridge pickup, so actually the capacitor that's in there is quite a nice one anyway, because it gives you that open wah sound, which I love on the tone capacitor. But this is where it's at, the ATN. Now, there are lots and lots of things you can do with this. I'm going to show you a few of them. I'm going to show you a little tip with the ATN5 as well, because there are some things that it does that make it sound terrible until you understand what it's doing. So I'm going to take you through the settings. It's McLean with a little bit of hair. And I'm just going to notch through it, then show you the secret. So you see a lot of top end gone. So you'll notice a few things. One, there is a dip in the amount of gain that's coming through because of the way the frequencies are changing. There's a huge tone difference between, especially sort of settings 1 and 5. So this is 1, and this is 5. Sorry, 2 and 5. But they don't sound all that usable. So here's the secret. They aren't until you turn the volume down on the guitar slightly. So if I go to my favourite setting, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm going to go to both pickups. Here's what it sounds like normally. So quite muddy. If I roll the volume back to about 8, 7, it starts to sound a bit like a single coil. Now there is obviously a bit of a volume drop, so we just push that a little bit here. No, not that one. That one. It actually sounds a little bit like, on that combination, a bit like kind of position 4 on a Strat. Put it onto the neck position, sounds a bit like a neck single coil on a Strat. Compared to... If I move it all the way up to the 4th one as well, or position 5, sorry. And you'll hear that throughout the selection. So if I go into the middle setting, and I'll go through them with the volume on full, and then volume on 7-ish. suddenly those tone variations become much better, to the point that if you're on setting kind of 2 or 3, you're almost getting an electroacoustic sound. And if you were to put some more treble through it, you'll actually get a really good electroacoustic. So suddenly what sounds like a standard kind of, we're going to get 3 bog standard tones out of this plus a tone control, becomes a really, really flexible guitar, which lets you get lots of little sounds out of it live that you wouldn't get from a standard guitar. So with a little bit more hair on it. So everything full on the middle setting. Up to position 4. Turn the volume down. You can really start to hear how it starts to become very single coil-like. If we move it on to the last position, start to get an even thinner single coil. So like maybe a tapped humbucker sound. So lots and lots of variation. Now, obviously, most of the time you'll probably spend on the standard pickup settings, which is great because the X90s do sound fantastic. So there you go, the RJT-60 from Revelation. Beautiful guitar, sounds great. The ATN technology gives you this huge array of tones you can get from it. That whole kind of messing with the volume control with the notch filter brings it to life, really opens up the possibilities. It works great for anything from blues to metal. I absolutely adore it. It's quickly becoming one of my most played guitars. Things to look out for. Okay, this was secondhand. However, it's not shielded, or it wasn't shielded. So I did get a lot of background noise. So I did take it apart and shield it with copper slug tape. Yes, slug tape. Don't buy shielding tape, slug tape. As long as it's conductive on both sides, perfect. However, be careful. I broke it because the ATN has this little inductor coil, like a little black thing that dangles down off it, which when I took it out, snapped off. And it's very like pickups. The wire, it's like a little wine, or hundreds of wines of really thin wire, and the wire snapped and went back inside the coil. And you can't replace it with the same part very easily. I spoke to Alan Entwistle, and it turns out you can put in half a P-bass pickup, and I'll show you a picture of all of this, and it does almost identical job. And to be honest, I can't tell the difference between the tones on the guitar with that or with the original inductor. They probably are, but I can't see it. So be very careful if you're going to take this apart, because that one component is a bit dodgy. Not dodgy, weak, delicate, that's the word. Other than that, everything is just so good. The neck pocket is tight, the weight of it's good, fret access is good, it looks great. I love this headstock. If you're going to do a non-Fender headstock and try and do your own thing, I love this kind of dual tone headstock. Not to everyone's taste, but I love it. So all in all, fabulous guitar. So my question to you is, have you played a Revelation guitar like this? Have you been turned off by the fact that until you play the volume control, which you probably wouldn't have done when you tested it, the ATN thing can sound a bit muddy? Have you owned one? Do you own one? Have you got one with a different configuration? Because you can get like 3 X90s, you can get Alnico X90s, you can get one with 4 single coils, you can get one with no pickups, with like hidden pickups under the pick guard. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts were. Let me know in your comments what you think of this. Have you seen them cheaper than £150? Like, subscribe, start a conversation with me, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers.